BTDT is a citizens group, loose group of people who care for our city. We care for our this valley that we call our home. And the journey of BTDT began with the journey of the state of Uttarakhand. So that was the time when Dehradun was very hurriedly declared the state capital of Uttarakhand. With that process also began a process of very rapid urbanization and a process of destruction of heritage. So a lot of our canals, which were so much a part of the city, were covered up for road widening. We saw a lot of trees disappear because the city had to be connected with highways. So we saw a lot of destruction, and I tried to go to the courts. I tried to get some legal, the city, but unfortunately, the courts also did not consider our requests, and they thought that we were being obstructionist. We were trying to obstruct the formation of the capital. And the public sentiment was also towards, and why are these people trying to create obstacles? So that was a time when I actually saw that the people were not involved in protecting what we had. And I realized that unless we could put people on the streets, nobody would actually take us seriously. So it took us a few years. It took us a few years to formulate this idea. I always had this at the back of my mind that the idea has to be very, very simple. It has to be something which is the easiest thing to do. And with that, what I started doing was I started walking through the streets and I started documenting a lot of the heritage. All I did was I just walked the streets and I started documenting everything that was a part of, that I thought was a part of Dehradun's history. And to my surprise, some very interesting stories emerged. I put them down in a book, in the form of a book, which was, the book itself was called Been There Done That. And so a friend of mine who was also a secretary in the government of Uttarakhand once called me up that we have this little money left from the Department of Youth Affairs, and I want to put it to good use. Can you bring out a book on Dehradun? I said, yeah, I already have the text. Everything is done. So that book came out, and when the book came out, he was quite impressed with the book. He quite liked the book, and he said, okay, let's launch the book now with a walk, with a heritage walk. So he kind of invited all the university toppers from all over Uttarakhand to participate in this first ever walk that BTDT did. And from there, this whole process began, that we started doing heritage walks every Sunday. So the idea of citizens engagement is very simple. You just need to apply yourself. What we did was that we every Sunday, so we use the social media, we put it to good use. We have, today we have 8 WhatsApp groups that are operational. We have about 80,000 people connected with us on the social media. So what we do is we tell people that we are going to meet at this particular point on a Sunday morning, and we are going to do a heritage walk. And 4 years down the line, we have this huge community which is connected to heritage, which is engaged as citizens of Dehradun. See, all of us as individuals have our own constraints. We have our own fields of knowledge, but we also have things that inhibit us from community. Most citizens look at the 4 walls as their home. So they think that what is happening within the boundary wall is what concerns us, and what is happening on the street maybe does not concern us. That is government's job. Now, when you build a community, then people, and I keep repeating this ad nauseum in all our interactions with people who come for walks, people who come for our various events. I keep telling them that think of the entire valley as your home. Don't think of the four walls as your home. So this is our home. I think this message has to be repeated and repeated again for people to absorb it, for people to imbibe it, and to start thinking in that particular way. So what I realized was that there were a lot of these people all over the place who were very upset with what was happening to our city. They were very connected with the city, but did not have a platform to voice their concerns or to take uh, some action. And I think this very simple idea of doing the walks gave us the opportunity to bring all these people together and take up issues which are of concern to all of us. So social media gives us a very good platform to continuously engage with citizens. So the walk or the cycling tour that we do is a Sunday thing. It's a weekend thing, but uh, we try and make our presence felt at all the community fairs and festivals. That's one thing that we are very careful about. I think social media plays a significant role, but eventually you have to put people on the street and you have to get people talking about these issues. So and and also to work with other organizations. I think being there doing that success has also been that we have been able to engage with other organizations. And so multiple organizations have multiple expertise. Like we have a group called Do Nature Walks. So they have expertise in nature, whereas we have expertise in heritage. Then there is a Citizens for Green, actively engaged with greening of the city. So we always make an effort to reach out to these organizations and involve them in our work. For instance, we have a road, a very busy street in Dehradun called Chakrata Road. The government had sanctioned tree felling for these people and pilgrim trees. So, and all the sanctions were given, all the approvals were given by the forest department. And but I received a call from one of our members from the walking community one day early morning that they are felling a tree which is not even obstructing the road, and can we do something about it? So I just went there. By that time, about 12 people had gathered, and so one person suggested, let's go to the DFO. So we went to the DFO. He said, no, I can't do it. This is FIATA comply. Everyone has given permissions. Even I have given my permissions. And then there was a child with us who said that, but you can't cut that tree because there are beaver bird nests on the tree. So the DFO, who was until then arguing that he wanted to help us, he wanted to save the tree, but this is government orders and he has to comply. He told us that, oh, are there beaver bird nests? Let's go and check. So we went back to the tree and we saw that there were nests on the tree. And because of this little child, we hadn't noticed the nest, but he had noticed the nest. So he said, okay, now we will have to apply the Wildlife Protection Act to this tree. And because of the Wildlife Protection Act, because it's a habitat for a rare bird, we will have to let this tree stand. We will not allow the tree to be felled. Recently, what we did was this walking trail that goes up to Mussoorie from Dehradun. So the trail, apparently the tourism department wanted to pave the entire route so that cars could actually ply on the route. We got in touch with some of the other organizations like Citizens for Green Dune to talk to the officials of the tourism department. Uh, and we were trying to tell them that this is not done, that please leave some space for walkers as well, because there are already three highways leading up to Mussoorie. There is no need for a fourth road going all the way up. So then I got a call from Citizens for Green Dune that some of the officials will be coming to inspect the road on the weekend, on the Sunday. And so we had plans to go on a walk somewhere else, but we decided to change the plan and go up to the Kipling Trail. So we were all like these 60, 70 walkers. We kind of surrounded the officials from the tourism department, and each one of us talked to them about the need for the trail to remain walkable and not to be paved, not to be concretized. And I'm happy to share with you that they saw a point. We had not come together with the other organizations like Friends of Dune, Citizens for Green Dune, and so many others. This would not have happened, and we would have had just another road leading up to Mussoorie. But at the moment, the construction work has been halted. Before the monsoon is set to arrive, Dehradun always has this survey. The forest department does a survey, and then they say that, oh, these many trees are found to be dangerous, and they need to be felled. Got all the community groups together, and we said we will not allow this to happen. We will stage a protest. So they started felling 2 hollow trees. They said these trees are hollow and they could fall on people on the street. So we said that, all right, if the trees are a danger to traffic, we will not obstruct your work, but let the citizens know what is the criteria that you consider a tree as dangerous. And then if the citizens understand the criterion, then let the citizens come with you on the survey. A lot of the experts from within the citizens groups went for the survey, and out of the 22 very old trees on Rajput Road that had been marked for felling, we were able to save about 60. And for some of the trees that we also agreed were dangerous or drying up or almost dead and needed to be removed, we got the citizens groups to replant. I think this kind of involvement of the citizens will eventually lead us to the place that we want to be in. So these are very small examples, and so many of them have occurred, which kind of renews my faith in citizens engagement. There are lots of opportunities if communities come together. The government has vast resources. I have seen and I have observed very closely that the government has vast resources. Unfortunately, the biggest challenge is that there is a huge gap between what the citizens expect from the government and what the government actually wants to deliver. This gap just seems to keep widening. Now it is up to the community to come together and bridge this gap between expectations and delivery. So it is the community that has to be very vocal about these things. And so I think that gap is the huge challenge. That gap is the real challenge, where the communities are silent. They are just bearing the brunt of whatever is being offered to them from people who have no touch with the ground realities. To bridge this gap, what we need to do is we need to have citizens coming together on platforms. We are within the Smart City project. The main area, the central part of the city, is being refurbished. So we are having the central artery, the Rajpur Road, is being remodeled. I had suggested to the government that we should do a walkability survey. and see where we could introduce the idea of cycling and walking into the city. Now, in our advisory board meetings, we have the MLAs, we have the MPs, and almost everyone laughed at the idea that why would people want cycling tracks? Why would people want to walk? We should have as wide roads as possible for movement of traffic. We did these cycling tours. So the idea was to show to the powers that be that if people can do tours across the city on bicycles, it shows that citizens are desirous of using this as a commute. Now, how to engage with the government, how to convince them. So that was one exercise that we did, that we said that, okay, for the next 1 month or so, we will do cycling tours across the city so that cyclists become more visible. So there was some recognition that cycling is a mode of transport which can be adopted. But since the government is not willing to do it, now we are doing it some other way. We have a cycling mayor. We are going to appoint a lady who is a 70-year-old cyclist. So we are trying to project her as the cycling ambassador of the city. And we are, so eventually we will be using her voice to talk about cycling as means of commuting. We have to work around this and bridge that gap between delivery and the demand. There are multiple entry points. You don't know where the cracks will appear and where you will get an entry. But I think if you have the plans ready, or if you're prepared with your responses, that is a continuous process. That is something that you have to engage with on a constant basis, that you keep looking for these opportunities, like wherever you feel that there is scope for change, you do your research, get your plans in place, and wherever the opportunity arises, you can, I think, engage actively with the government, because eventually government is also a part of us. We have elected these people, and I don't believe in always being at loggerheads with the powers that we can educate them. We can kind of gently a lot of things that we want them to do, and that's where a citizens group also comes in handy. It comes in very useful. We don't really have ambition, as you said very rightly. We have just evolved out of trial and error. There have been more misses than hits, but we have evolved over the years. But I would definitely want this, and we are headed probably in that direction, that I would want the community to now handhold a lot of the rural areas, a lot of the rural communities around our city, where we are seeing rapid urbanization, where we are seeing brazen tourism, that they are being opened out to tourists in a very wrong kind of way, and so and within Uttarakhand we have this huge issue of ghost villages, where people are abandoning their villages and coming to the cities. So our community is actively engaged with this idea that we want now to grow and handhold communities into developing what we describe as slow tourism initiatives. So we are already working with 9 village communities around Uttarakhand, where we are developing walking trails for them. We are developing heritage trails, nature trails, bird checklists. We are doing moth walks, moth trails, butterfly trails, and we train communities, the youth from these communities, to market as well as to attract the right kind of tourist who's interested in the experience rather than being interested in partying all the time. So that's one direction that I would definitely like the community to um, go into. That is not just stay limited to the city itself, but branch out and also help the villages develop in the right way.